Hello and welcome back to my channel, Dinar and Dong updates Iraq's currency reform. A new chapter in economic recovery and stability. There's been a growing buzz both online and within financial circles about Iraq's latest economic overhaul. These developments aren't just cosmetic. They represent deep structural reforms aimed at reshaping the nation's financial landscape. Iraq, a country historically reliant on oil revenues, is now making meaningful strides toward modernizing its economy. One of the most significant steps in this direction involves the actions recently taken by Iraq's General Customs Authority. This authority has rolled out a new set of policies designed to streamline trade, reduce illicit smuggling, and foster growth in local industries. These changes reflect an intentional pivot by the government, a move away from dependency on a single source of revenue and toward a more dynamic, diversified economic model. While it's clear Iraq's journey is still ongoing, these reforms represent a serious commitment to building a more sustainable financial system. Modernizing the economic framework. Iraq's customs reforms are not occurring in isolation. They are part of a broader vision for revitalizing the nation's financial and economic systems. For decades, the country has struggled with inefficiencies, corruption, and outdated structures that have stifled growth and innovation. Now, with increased international attention and internal pressure for reform, the government is working to introduce transparency and accountability into core sectors of the economy. One of the more ambitious and potentially misunderstood aspects of Iraq's economic transformation involves currency reform, specifically redenomination. The concept, while straightforward in theory, often becomes clouded by misinformation and unrealistic expectations. Understanding redenomination. What it really means. To grasp the implications of what Iraq is doing with its currency, let's break down the concept of redenomination. Redenomination refers to the process of adjusting the face value of a country's currency, typically by removing zeros. For example, if a country takes a currency note labeled 1,000 and converts it into a new note labeled 1, it's a redenomination, not a devaluation. The underlying value remains the same. What changes is how it's expressed numerically. This move is primarily designed to make everyday financial transactions simpler and to reset economic expectations. In environments where inflation has inflated the nominal value of the currency to impractical levels, redenomination helps re-establish clarity and functionality. Let's use an example. Suppose you currently hold 1,000 Iraqi dinars. If the government decides to redenominate the currency by eliminating 3 zeros, you would exchange that amount for 1 new dinar. It doesn't mean your money has lost value. It simply means the value is now reflected differently. Your 1 new dinar would be worth the same as the 1,000 old dinars under the current market system. Redenomination versus revaluation. A common misconception. One of the biggest sources of confusion when it comes to currency reform is the difference between redenomination and revaluation. Many dinar holders, particularly those outside Iraq, have been led to believe that the government will suddenly revalue the currency and make them rich overnight. This is highly unlikely and economically unfeasible. Revaluation would imply a significant increase in the currency's value relative to other currencies, like the US dollar. If, hypothetically, the new Iraqi dinar were suddenly valued at $3.22 per unit, it would drastically change the financial landscape. But if this rate is applied to new dinars created through redenomination, the holders of the old notes won't be magically enriched. Their 1,000 old dinars become 1 new dinar, worth $3.22 in this scenario, not $3,220. This distinction is critical. Misunderstanding it has led to widespread misinformation, often spread by speculative investors or online forums promising unrealistic returns. If the Iraqi government allowed old currency holders to exchange their dinars at inflated values, the country would face a massive influx of cash it couldn't support. The result? Economic collapse, runaway inflation, and a loss of monetary control. Why countries redenominate? Redenomination is a tool used globally by nations that are restructuring their economies. It's not unique to Iraq. Countries like Turkey, Brazil, and Zimbabwe have all undertaken similar efforts during periods of transition. The primary goal is to simplify accounting, facilitate smoother transactions, and rebuild confidence in the national currency. In Iraq's case, redenomination is about more than just numbers on a bill. It's about reinforcing stability, improving the perception of the currency, and laying the groundwork for long-term growth. When people see a currency with fewer digits and more purchasing power in each unit, it contributes to psychological confidence, an often overlooked but vital component of economic health. The human side of reform. A closer look. Now let's take this from a macroeconomic level to a personal one. Imagine you're someone who owns a thick bundle of Iraqi dinar notes. Maybe you bought them as a speculative investment years ago. Maybe you received them as a gift or inheritance. Or perhaps you held on to them with the belief that one day they'd dramatically increase in value. When redenomination occurs, it may feel like your plans have been thrown into disarray. But if you understand what's happening, you'll realize that your value isn't vanishing. It's simply being adjusted to fit a healthier, more manageable system. In fact, such reform could make your currency easier to use, exchange, or invest, especially if Iraq's economy continues to improve. Transitioning to the new currency. As Iraq prepares to release new lower-denomination notes, the government plans to implement a transitional period during which both old and new notes will coexist. This overlap is essential. It allows citizens time to exchange currency, understand the changes, and avoid unnecessary panic. Eventually, the old currency will be phased out. But this won't happen overnight. The government will likely provide months, if not years, of lead time, complete with public awareness campaigns and logistical support. This measured approach is crucial for maintaining order and ensuring that businesses, banks, and households can adapt smoothly. For Iraqi citizens, this could mean tangible improvements in day-to-day life. No longer will people need to carry thick stacks of bills to make simple purchases. Prices will appear more reasonable, not because things cost less, but because the numbers are now aligned with global norms. This kind of normalization is key to rejoining the international financial community and attracting foreign investment. Impacts on Iraqis abroad. For members of the Iraqi diaspora, those who left the country but still maintain financial or emotional ties, this currency reform presents both challenges and opportunities. First, it's a wake-up call to stay informed and be realistic. If you've held on to dinars hoping for an instant windfall, it's time to reassess that strategy. Redenomination isn't a lottery ticket. It's a pragmatic financial policy. However, that doesn't mean there's no opportunity. In fact, a stabilized currency could be the foundation for renewed economic engagement. Many Iraqis abroad are now considering returning to their homeland, not just for personal reasons, but to invest, start businesses, or support their communities. We're seeing more stories of people returning to open cafes, launch tech startups, or build homes. These aren't isolated cases. They're part of a broader movement fueled by better infrastructure, more favorable regulations, and a sense of national renewal. How to prepare. If you're considering a return, if you're thinking about returning to Iraq or getting involved in its growing economy, there are a few practical steps to consider. 1. Stay informed. Follow news from credible financial sources, monitor official government updates, and talk regularly with friends and family in Iraq. Local insights are often more valuable than international headlines. Second, visit. First, if you haven't been back in a while, consider a trip to see how things have changed. Observe how the new currency is being used, what the business climate is like, and where the greatest needs and opportunities lie. Third, plan financially. Transitioning back to life in Iraq, especially during a period of reform, requires careful budgeting. Make sure you have a cushion for unexpected costs during the adjustment period. 4. Join online communities. Facebook groups, Telegram channels, and forums are filled with first-hand experiences, tips, and advice from others who've already made the move. These communities can help guide you through practical and emotional challenges. 5. Think long-term. Don't base your return or investment plans on short-term currency gains. Instead, focus on sustainable growth, meaningful engagement, and building something that contributes to Iraq's future. The bigger picture: a nation in transformation. Ultimately, what's happening in Iraq is more than a currency swap. It's a national reboot. A new economic vision is emerging, one that places emphasis on efficiency, transparency, and inclusivity. By addressing outdated financial systems and embracing modernization, Iraq is setting the stage for a more prosperous future. Currency is more than just paper or digits. It's a reflection of a nation's identity, its trust in governance, and its economic potential. As Iraq prepares to turn this important page, the dinar becomes a symbol not just of spending power, but of possibility. So if you've been waiting for the